We're here at Kearns High School where the Cougars wrapped up their best regular season finish since 1993. That marked the last time Kearns advanced in the postseason with 9 consecutive losses in the first round. It'll have an opportunity to end that drought with home field advantage against Alta on Friday afternoon. Now, Kearns is 1-18 against the Hawks since 1978, with the only win coming in that same 1993 season. It's a matchup pitting 2 of the top running backs in the state, Kearns' Sione and Alta's Josh Davis. It's a pairing of 2 programs headed in the same direction, up. It's win or go home. Welcome to Campus Takeover. This is Campus Takeover, brought to you by Trib Preps. Each week we'll visit the campus of one of Friday night's marquee matchups. We'll break down key storylines and talk with players and coaches from both teams. And afterward, we'll pick the winners of the biggest games. Hit it! Deal us a pair of 3. Each episode will highlight 3 breakout players and 3 surprise teams that caught our attention from the previous week. Alta quarterback Braxton Kerr captained an emotional first meeting against Corner Canyon. On the opening play of the game, Kerr hit Camden Johnson across the middle for an 85-yard touchdown. He would complete 15 of 22 attempts for 307 yards and 5 touchdowns to secure the number 3 seed from Region 7 for the Hawks. Wasatch has been one of the best success stories of 2015. In the final game of the regular season, quarterback Garrett Davis continued his strong play with 5 touchdown strikes to lead the Wasps past Uinta. Skyview wrapped up the Region 1 title and handed Mountain Crest its first loss of the season with a 5-0 decision. Defense reigned for the Bobcats, Colton Durant in particular. The Durantula haunted the Mustangs' dreams, finishing with 12 total tackles, including 3 sacks, while forcing a safety and blocking both a field goal and a punt. Salem Hills needed a win. It got 2. The Skyhawks forced a play-in game on the final week of the season with an upset of Maple Mountain, and then on Tuesday, they duplicated the feat with another win over the Golden Eagles to claim the 3rd spot from Region 8. After starting the season 1-3, Pleasant Grove disappeared in the rankings and left the discussion completely. The Vikings are 5-1 in the past 6 weeks and are starting to live up to the preseason expectations. They claimed the 3rd seed in Region 4 with a win against American Fork to set up a rematch against Jordan in the first round. Before the annual rivalry game, the Westlake Twitter account posted, "We can't wait to get our beep kicked by Lehigh." Not saying the Pioneers had anything to do with the hijacking or the taunt, but the Thunder piled on 23 points in the 3rd quarter to earn bragging rights for the 2nd straight year. K-Town is going to be rocking on Friday night as the Kearns Cougars prepare to host the Alta Hawks in the first round of the Class 4A postseason. Now, Alta last year finished 2-9. They opened with 7 consecutive losses, and for a program with such a rich and proud history, it was unacceptable. So the offseason ushers in a completely new coaching staff, new facilities, and an excitement that had escaped that program. Now, Kevin, do you think that the Hawks are a little ahead of schedule? Maybe next year, probably people thought they were going to be competitive, but they've been competitive this year.
They have, and it's been really nice to see. One of the things that's happened is there's just a new energy in the program, and they're playing well. You get a win or two, and they played some schools that were a little bit smaller than they were. But things like that are good. It kind of helps to build some excitement in the program. You win a couple games, and sometimes you don't care who it's against, just that it's a win, and you can feel good about yourself. You go to practice, and you feel like, hey, we're coming off a win. It means something. And so I think in that way, yeah, they probably are a little bit ahead of where they thought that they might be. And they've got to like it. Their first game against the new rival Corner Canyon, they beat them. So, if nothing else, then that makes it a successful season.
You can almost pinpoint the success to Josh Davis. He leads the state with rushing with almost 1,800 yards. He's got 30 total touchdowns. He contributes in both the rushing and the passing game. So what do you like about his game specifically?
Yeah, he is what makes that team go. You hate to put everything on one kid, especially at the high school level. But look, that's the way Alta works, is that it all comes down to him. Because if he gets things going in the running game, what it does is it opens up things in the passing game. The defense has to focus on him running. He has breakaway speed. So if you give him any kind of a crease, he's going to exploit it. He's proven that time and time again this season. And then that opens up things for the passing game. He also has the ability to catch the ball. He's been able to catch the ball and take it, just short little tosses out to him, and he takes it the length of the field for a touchdown. That offense is so based on him, it isn't even funny. And he does a good job of shouldering that load.
Now, Kearns has been a great story this season. It's a program that's predominantly been hovering around the bottom of the standings for years. You live near this community, Tom. What do you think it's meant to this town?
I think the town is really excited about it. I suspect that they'll have a really good crowd out here Friday afternoon, and it means a lot to these teams. There's a little bit of the west side, east side thing that goes on out here at Kearns, probably more than a lot of schools. That said, as you can see, they've got beautiful new facility. They've improved their facilities a lot, and their kids just sound like winners.
So much like Alta, Kearns has relied a lot on Sione for now. He's rushed for 900 yards and 13 touchdowns, and he does it in a similar way to Josh Davis. What do you like about his game, Tom?
He's shifty. He seems to be able to have that innate ability to find the hole, and he also is a big play guy. If he gets out in the open, he's going to be hard to stop. He's kind of what makes them go, although their quarterback, Taylor Bailey, is pretty good too.
So in Kearns' losses this season, they've given up a collective 93 points against Olympus and Weber. Weber they had no business losing against. Alta's averaging nearly 39 points per game. How does Kearns get off the field?
Well, I think they get off the field by staying on the field, and I look for them to just play kind of a grinded-out game, try to keep the ball on offense, and have long, sustained drives. If they can do that, and if they can get up early, I think they'll be in good shape. If they get behind 14 points early in the game, it could be trouble for them.
Now, similar to Kearns, Alta has yet to beat a team with a winning record. Now, Kearns has, but Alta has not. Their best win came against Spanish Fork, which is 500. They're a number 4 seed from that Region 8. Are they beating up on inferior opponents, or are they the real deal?
Excellent question, Trevor. It's both. I think that the answer is both. I think that Josh Davis is a heck of a running back and has the ability to prove himself here in the playoffs. I actually think that this game could be a lot like a video game where it's like, whoop, there goes one long run. Whoop, there goes one long run for Kearns. Whoop, there goes one for Alta. I really think it could be that type of game where, the rushing totals could be in, the high multiple hundreds, if that makes that. In other words, a lot of rushing yards.
Can we get one more Zoop, Chris Berman?
Oh, sure. I mean, and there goes Josh Davis. Whoop! One more. Why not?
So, Tom, this is a program, we've talked about it. They're not familiar with being in this position. It's been a long time since they've hosted a postseason game. Is overcoming jitters the key to winning, or is there something else?
I think talent is the key to winning. They're much better than they have been. We're going to see how much improved they are. I picked them, I think, either first or second in the league, and they finished second in the league to Olympus. They are a much, much improved team, and if Alta's not ready for them, they could surprise them.
What about Alta?
I think that the home field advantage is going to be a big plus for Kearns. I think that both teams, I think that they're really evenly matched. I think that both teams rely on a running game to get everything going, and I think that the home field advantage could be the one thing that possibly could sway the outcome a little bit.
We are here with Kearns coach Matt Rickards. He's in his 3rd season now, and this has been a resurgent season for this program, the best since 1993. As a coach, how enjoyable has it been to coach this team?
It's been very enjoyable. These kids, they're they really are like my kids. We spend a lot of time as coaches with these kids, and we look at it as a family. We treat each other like brothers, and they're my kids, and to see them have some success after all the hard work that they've done and gone through, it's been really fun.
It might be a surprise to the rest of the state that you guys are 8-2, but in the preseason, you knew you were going to be good, right?
Well, just the fact that we returned so many starters, I knew that we were going to be better than what we were the years before. And I had this conversation with Mom, and she asked me, how good are we going to be? Are we going to be any better? I said, well, we're going to be good, or we're going to be better, but depending on how good is how we come together as a family and how we raise our expectations of work and our mindset.
You've got new turf here this year. The facilities look first rate. What's been the change in attitude this year from going from 3 wins last year to 8-2 this year? What's the community like?
Well, the community's been great. The support from the district has been great. Gates Foundation has donated some money to us to where we can upgrade some of our facilities and equipment and things like that, and that's been fantastic and very helpful. Really what it comes down to, the kids got to play the game. They've got to have the right mindset. They got to have the right attitude and effort. And with the way our off season went was just outstanding. It was the best off season I've seen in the 10 years I've coached high school football. And the mindset, we're tired of being the victim of somebody else's story, and we're not going to make excuses anymore. We want to be the story.
Got Alta on Friday. What are your thoughts on the Hawks?
Oh, Alta, it's eerily similar how they play on offense and the numbers that they put up as we do. They run very close to the same schemes that we run on offense. A few tweaks here and there are different, and they put up numbers. And obviously that's a concern. That's something that we've got to do and stop. And on defense they're very fast and they play some football.
Do you think you've got to get a lead? How important is it to get a lead in this game?
Well, our kids haven't seen much adversity this year, with the exception of the 2 losses, and the one we didn't fight back. We didn't deal with adversity very well. But the next week after we played Olympus, we played Murray, and we had some adversity. And we were down late in the game, and our kids fought back, and we ended up winning that game late in the game on a long touchdown pass. And so I think that helped us mature. So I don't think that we have to get out early on anybody. I think we just keep playing our game, and it is a long game, and our kids will never quit.
So in those 2 losses, you gave up 40 points to both those teams. What was different in those games that your defense just wasn't executing like it has the entire season?
Well, against Olympus, we had some players that were lost, and I didn't do a very good job coaching them up as far as their responsibilities were. And I think overall our mindset in that game was we were playing timid and playing not to lose. And so we corrected that. We'll never play not to lose ever again. We're gonna go play to win. And against Weaver, when we lost that game, we allowed them to have 2 consecutive kickoff returns for a touchdown, and that hurts us, and we missed some tackles in the secondary that allowed for some big yardage. Other than that, we did a decent job on defense there.
Kind of the matchup within the matchup is 2 of the state's best running backs, Josh Davis for Alta and your own Sione Finau. What are your thoughts on both those backs?
Well, they're very similar. They both have great speed, outstanding speed, and like I said, the offensive schemes are very, very similar as well. So, they find ways to get number 20 the ball any way they can, whether they throw them the ball, put them out at receiver, or in the backfield, and we do the same thing with Sione. And if you don't do that as a coach, then you're not doing your job, trying to get one of your best players, most explosive players, the ball in their hands.
What do you think a win on Friday night would mean to this community?
Well, it's been a long time, from what I understand, since we've won a playoff game, especially a home playoff game, and it would be big. It's the next step in this program, and our kids are ready to take that next step.
We are here with Kearns quarterback Bailey Floyd and the running back Sione Finau. You guys are hosting a playoff game here, 8-2 season. It's your best record since the 1993 season. Sione, what has been the recipe for success this season?
Oh man, our offense, I think. We have a good leader here. Our quarterback and our linemen are just super at running and, blocking for me to give me those holes so I can, do my job and score.
Bailey, as a quarterback, is it a luxury to have a running back like Sione?
Oh, yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Now, you guys play Alta, and it's a classic east side, west side rivalry. What do you know about the Hawks? How do you feel about that east-west rivalry thing going?
All we know is they have a good running back as well. And, we just have to stop his running lanes and, play as a team.
Does it add more fuel to the fire knowing that you guys haven't beat Alta since 1978? You're 1-18 against them since that year.
Yeah, I feel like we have a chip on our shoulder and we're coming to get them.
Do you feel, Sione, that even though you're 8-2, you're the number 2 seed in the region, that you're still being overlooked?
Yes, we are, because people say our preseason games were as good as our records say, but we can't put our schedule together. We just got to play through it week by week.
How about you, Bailey? What's your feeling about how the season's gone?
I have the same feeling as him, that everybody just doubting us, but we're coming.
So in your 2 losses this season, the defense has had a hard time getting off the field. How do you stop the Hawks?
Like I said, they have a good running game as well as their offense. So if we can get our defense off the field and our main goal, our offense, and we can play as a team and all click on all cylinders, there's no way to stop us.
Bailey, what do you think a playoff win would mean for this community?
Oh, it'd be huge. Like you said, we haven't been past the playoffs since 1983, so I think it'd be a huge boost to our community and team.
What's it been like out here this year? You got the new turf, the big winning record. Has it been a fun year out here?
Oh, yeah. It's been amazing.
How so?
We've come together so close as a family. We focus on family this off season and getting better, of course. But yeah, we've became brothers. We're really close to each other.
Sione, you kind of touched on it a little bit, but your offensive line is one of the strongest and most powerful offensive lines in the state. What do those 5 up front bring to the table each and every night?
Oh man, they do all the dirty work. So I give it all my credit all to them, because without them, I would not have the yards, the touchdowns that I have right now. And we have a good line this year, and we're just gonna keep going throughout this playoff.
You're starting to get recruited more and more. Where are you leaning? What schools are recruiting you, and where do you envision yourself going next year?
The offers I have right now is Nevada, SUU, Weber, and Oregon State, and they're all very good schools. And college hasn't been a mind in me, but I'm still in the recruiting process, and I'm open to all schools.
Question for both of you: any predictions for what's going to happen here on Friday night?
We're coming.
Oh man, like what my quarterback says, we're coming.
We have new faces for the Pick'em for the postseason. This is the man behind the camera. We forgot to thank him last week, which is terrible. But this is the genius. This is the guy that makes everything go. Kevin Morris, welcome to the Pick'em part of this show.
It really was horrible that you forgot to thank me. That's all.
We're not nice people. That's the problem.
No, you're not.
But anyway, thank you.
I just followed.
Thank you for the vote of confidence.
Yeah,
there.
you're welcome. Hey, look, Trevor, here's what it comes down to, plain and simple. We decided that Brennan and Tom were not adequate opponents for you in the Pick'em. That neither one could put up any kind of fight. Both were an embarrassment to Trib Preps. And so we decided to bring in someone who knows absolutely nothing, myself, in the hopes that by knowing nothing, even a blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while, and I will knock you off in the playoffs.
Well, next week I'm going to bring Lucy the Labradoodle, my 110-pound.
You've been promising this for weeks.
Yeah, you have.
Because I think she'll outpick us all.
Unacceptable, Tom. All talk, no action. If Lucy is not here next week, you're off the show. We're going to do it in your backyard and not let you be on it.
So one of the ways to equalize the competition is to pick more games. So we're only going to pick 7 games on camera like we have done all season. But at trippreps.com, we're picking every single playoff game in every single classification, and we're going to keep track. So the first game is Union at Juab. The Wasps have won 7 straight in the series. The last 3, though, have been by a collective score of 9 points. Two of those games were decided by 1 point, including this season's 49-48 win. Does Union finally break through with an upset, or does the heartbreak continue?
I'm going to go with the Wasps. I think they'll sting the Cougars this week. Juab got a taste of what it was like to make it to the state championship game last year. They admittedly got blown out by Judge, but I think that they've got something to prove, even though they're missing their really good quarterback that's now at SUU. But I'm going to go with Juab in this one. I think that they want to make it back to the state championship game again.
This game, Trevor, is killing me. I cannot decide which way to go. I watched the film of when they played just a couple weeks ago, and I can't decide which way to go. Juab had no business winning that game. None. Union had them beat. They drive down the field. They're in line for a field goal. They snap it, but there was a timeout called. It was a good snap. A good snap. They come out of the timeout. They snap the ball to win the game on a field goal, and it was a bad snap. Union has an incredible quarterback. I really like what he can do. He can run it. He can throw it. But I'm going with Juab. Give me the Wasps to win this one.
I think Juab has sputtered of late. I mean, they come out of the season just guns a-blazing, and they have struggled to get some wins of late. I think they return to the team that we saw in the earlier weeks, and they put away Union. Union is actually, ironically, on the upward swing rather than the downward swing. But I still think Juab overall is the better team here. They're more experienced. They had that postseason run to the championship game, which will come into an advantage in this game against Union. I like the Wasps to move on. The next game is Murray at Provo. It's the Battle of the Phoenix Bird. Now you're probably thinking, what, the Phoenix Bird? These two programs have risen from the ashes. They both toss the rock around at a rapid pace, and the Spartans have not won a playoff game since 1997, while the Bulldogs haven't sniffed the quarterfinals in 8 years. Somebody's going to get it done. Who gets it done, Tom?
I like the Bulldogs in this game. I've watched Murray a couple of times. They've got two great players in Drew Cash and Max Tapai, but I'm going with Provo because it's at Provo. The Bulldogs have been down for a long time. They've waited for this moment, and I like their chances in this one.
This one, plain and simple, comes down to the Joneses. Who's got the better one? Provo? Murray? Who? Provo, wide receiver. Heck of a player. He makes great plays. He's able to get open. He can outrun the coverage. He can go over the coverage. He does a really nice job. Now, the Murray Jones, he isn't too shabby either. He has the ability to outrun you. He'll run over you. He'll run through you. He'll run around you. He's that good. I really like what's been happening with Provo. I think that good things are happening down there. I think Tony McGeary has things headed in the right direction. It's been a real turnaround. You know, it isn't, they aren't the ugly stepchild in Provo anymore. You know, to Old Timpview, they've really put on a good show this year. But I got to go with Richmond, the Mikester. Mike and his Murray team gets it done. I think that they have a little bit better offense and a little bit better defense to just nudge them a little bit on the road. I think Murray gets the win.
So I got to make fun of you here, Kevin. If Hunter Jones, he's like 5'5", runs anybody over, then Murray's going to win this. But he's not going to run anybody over. He's going to outrun them for a couple touchdowns maybe. It's going to be a high-scoring game, but I like Ty Jones over at Provo. He's committed to the University of Utah. Only a junior. They've got a great quarterback as well. That system just produces points. Tony McGeary, you touched on him, Kevin, has done a phenomenal job there. Mike Richmond as well as Murray at Murray. But I think Provo, with the home field advantage, gets it done on Friday. Pleasant Grove at Jordan. Now, this game might end at midnight despite the afternoon start time. Jordan won the early September meeting 28-21, but it had to hold off after the Vikings surged back from a 3-score deficit. The Diggers have won 6 straight in the series. Do they make it 7?
Yes, they do. In a simple word, I just think that Jordan has too much firepower for Pleasant Grove. Pleasant Grove has got some good athletes, but they've struggled at quarterback all year. I've seen them twice, and their quarterback play has been a problem for them. So I like Jordan in this one.
I really like Jordan in this ball game. I think that Jordan's ability on offense can't be matched, with the exception of Bingham. Mr. Workman, I am not in any way calling you out. Not in any way. I am not Brennan. No. Jordan's offense has been pretty remarkable most of the season. Mr. Lisk, at quarterback, has done a heck of a job throwing the football. He's found his open receivers. He has taken off and run with the ball when he's needed to. And I think Pleasant Grove is going to have a really tough time trying to keep up with Jordan. I just don't think that Pleasant Grove has the offense to do it. I like Jordan to roll in this one.
Drew Lisk is currently in the top 5 nationally in passing yards. Now, some will attribute that to the system. I'm going to attribute to his talent, specifically his moxie in the pocket. For an 18-year-old, he's extremely smart reading the defense. He doesn't make very many mistakes. He's got arsenal all around him at the receiving core, and 2 running backs that put up a lot of numbers, obviously, with Jordan's offense. Their defense has been a much talked about weakness this season, as with every season, but I do think that they can cause a couple turnovers against Pleasant Grove, something that's been the Vikings' bugaboo all season long. Look for Jordan to get 1 or 2 stops off of interceptions to win this game. Bountiful at Wasatch. Now, this is an interesting matchup here. Wasatch was completely off the radar, and based off preseason attention, it completely overachieved. Quarterback Garrett Davis has played relatively mistake-free, while 5 different backs contributed 2,000-plus yards of rushing. But it's all about special teams and defense, with Skylar Southam kicking. Now, meanwhile, Bountiful was expected to contend for the Region 5 title. In the preseason, we labeled the Braves as having one of the deepest skill sets in all of 4A, which is still true as they're starting to peak at the right juncture.
I like Bountiful in this one, but with some caveats. Wasatch has waited a long time to be here. It's taken a while to get acclimated to 4A and to being in the big school ranks. A lot of people still look at Wasatch as a 2A school. That community's grown leaps and bounds. I think this could be a really, really good game, but I think that Bountiful and their long tradition will prevail in this one, but it's going to be close. I picked the Braves.
Interesting analysis, Mr. Wharton. However, I think you're wrong. Because if the game is close, it's going to come down to special teams. And as my friend Trevor said, Mr. Southam, the place kicker for Wasatch, is top-notch. This kid can hit from anywhere. In close, out far, doesn't matter, and he's at home. I like Wasatch to get it done against Bountiful, although I would agree with you, Mr. Wharton, that I think it is going to be a close game. I think Bountiful has the ability to keep it close, but in the end, special teams. Special teams. Look for Mr. Southam to boot the game winner in the final 3 minutes. Wasatch wins.
It's going to be a rocking environment in Wasatch. Their stadium is like the miniature Heinz Field. They've got the actual seats with the yellow backtops. It's a great environment there. I do think it's going to be a close game, but here's a prediction. Bountiful leading by 2 points. Skylar Southam's lining up to make the game-winning field goal, and his future teammate Max Tooley jumps over the line of scrimmage and blocks it. Bountiful wins. Brighton at Harriman. It is a rematch of the opening game of the season, which Brighton won 23-14. Now, both programs aren't exactly entering the postseason on a high note. Brighton lost 30-0 to Bingham, while Harriman matched them with their own 30-0 setback against Lone Peak. Which program rebounds with a first-round win?
I'm going to go with the Bengals in this one. I covered the Lone Peak Harriman game. I think Harriman had the horses early, but they're really banged up, particularly in the secondary. And if you've got Simi Fihoko as your wide receiver, as Brighton does, having a secondary that's not that's hurt will make the difference. So I go with the Bengals in this one.
Tom, I think that you make some excellent points. I think this is going to be a fantastic game. Both teams are coming in a little nicked up, and that's going to play a big role. I think Harriman's defense has obviously been a strong point all season. It's been able to stop teams. However, when they went and they played Lone Peak, they weren't. Lone Peak was able to do a lot offensively, and I really think that Brighton is going to be able to do the same. I think Simi Fihoko is probably the best player in the state from what I've seen. That kid can get open. He can beat you so many ways. He can beat you with his speed. He can beat you with his height. He has amazing hands, and I think that he's going to be the one who really gives Harriman fits. I think that in the end, Brighton is going to be able to pull away a little bit with their offense. I think Brighton wins.
I've always thought it's really hard to beat a team twice, so Brighton is at a disadvantage. They've got to beat Harriman for the second time this season, and Brighton is not Lone Peak. It's not even close. Lone Peak is one of the best teams in the entire state. Brighton's quarterback situation has improved, but they still have trouble in the vertical passing game. Fiocco is the only true target in that sense of the game. I think Harriman rebounds here. I'm going against the masses, but I like Harriman at home to prevail. Fremont at Davis. Now, Davis has a little extra pressure attached to him. Region 2 is the weakest region in the 5A classification, and it's not even close. Region 1 has a legitimate shot of sweeping Region 2, which has happened in years past. Does Davis prevent the brooms from coming out?
The Darts have a great tradition. Even though I watched them lose to Jordan last year in a first-round game, I think the Darts prevail there, and I would tell people that are watching this, if you ever have a chance to see a game at Davis, do it. It's a really great atmosphere, one of the best atmospheres in high school football. I think Davis is unbeaten, and I can't see him going down in the first round.
Keep the brooms in the kitchen, Trevor. Not going to happen. Not a chance. I like Davis. I think that Davis has a good match on offense between a little passing, a little running, and I think that defense is pretty solid too. I think that Fremont is a solid team. That's the part that stinks for Fremont, is that they're solid. You know, you kind of look at last year and you go, man, Davis had to play Jordan. That just doesn't seem right. Well, it's kind of the same way this year with Fremont. You know, Fremont has had a solid year. They've looked good. They've had some decent wins. They're just running into a tougher team, and that's what happens in the playoffs. You know, it's a tough draw for Fremont. I think that Davis is able to pull this one out.
Viewmont is going to lose, Syracuse is going to lose, and Hunter is going to get upset by Roy. So Davis, you get it done. Region 2 is not going to get swept in the first round. They are going to prevail. I like Kalen Fisher at quarterback. The pistol offense, I've mentioned a couple times on this show, has been extremely effective. That'll be continuing on Friday afternoon. Davis is moving on. That brings us to the game of the week, Alta at Kearns. Right behind us, they are practicing for their first home playoff game in many, many years. They're looking to win their first playoff game since 1993. Kearns has not beat Alta since 1978. They're 1-18 in the series. Does that end on Friday afternoon, Tom?
No, it doesn't. I think that Kearns has had a great year, but they have yet to prove, other than in the Murray game, that they can beat a team with similar talent. I think Alta has similar talent, and I really like Alta in this game, although Sione Finau is a top talent, and this is the best year Kearns has had in many years, and it'll be a great atmosphere out here, but I've got to go with the Hawks in this one.
Tom, I had every intention of contradicting you just in the hopes of beating you and pick 'em. I can on this one. I actually, hard to believe, I think you're right. I think you're right on this one. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think that there's going to be a whole lot of rushing yards in this game. I think that both teams have the ability to run the ball, and I think both teams are going to use that to their advantage. I think that in the end, Alta has the slight edge. I really like Josh Davis. I think that he has proven his worth throughout this season, and I think that it's time for him to prove his worth against a really good team, and that's what Kearns is. Kearns comes in, they are no pushover. They've really started to build something here, something that the town can get behind, but I think that in the end, Alta's just a little bit stronger, and I think that they get the one stop that they need in order to prevail and move on in the playoffs.
Now, I'm no Dr. Drew, but I think Alta has a distinct psychological advantage in this game. They've been there before. This is a proud history of this program, and Kearns hasn't had that in its history. I think Josh Davis is one of the most underrated backs. Alem Mateo told me when they beat Corner Canyon that he is just baffled that Davis doesn't have a scholarship offer, and I have to agree with him. I think it's a high-scoring affair with Alta scoring one more touchdown. That's going to do it for the first episode of the postseason. It's amazing that we have already reached this juncture in the season. Follow us on trippreps.com, where we're going to pick every single game, and you can tell us if we're wrong, if we're right. Most likely we're going to be wrong. For Tom Wharton, Kevin Morris, I'm Trevor Phibbs. See you next week.